I always thought betrayal would come crashing down, all at once, like a car wreck or a thunderclap in a quiet sky. But that's not how it happened. At least not for me. For me, it started slow, subtle, almost like a shift in temperature, just enough to notice, but not enough to panic. I'm 43, name's Alan. I work as a regional maintenance supervisor for a commercial property company. Been married to Diane for 10 years. We met not long after her first husband passed away. Her son, my stepson, Tyler, was 13 when I came into their lives. He's 23 now, lives with us still, off and on. Bounces between our house and jobs he can't seem to keep. He's a smart kid, but aimless. You could say I tried to be a father figure, but if I'm honest, I mostly tried to stay out of the way. Tyler always had a bit of an attitude with me. I never thought I'd end up raising another man's kid, but when I met Diane, none of that mattered. She was vibrant, loving, a little sarcastic in a way that kept me on my toes. She made me laugh when I didn't feel like it. That mattered. That meant something. At least, I thought it did. Things were fine, normal even, until about 6 months ago. That's when the mood in the house shifted. I couldn't put my finger on it at first. Diane got quieter around me. Not colder, just less there. She'd laugh at her phone late at night, keep the screen tilted away when I walked into the room. When I asked who she was texting, she'd say it was just her sister or a work friend. I wanted to believe her. So I did. Then Tyler came back to stay, for a couple of weeks. That was 4 months ago. It wasn't just his timing that bothered me. It was the way he and Diane would talk when they thought I wasn't around. The inside jokes. The weird glances across the kitchen table. I brushed it off. Maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe I was tired from work. I told myself that, but then came the night I got home early. I had a bad feeling pulling into the driveway. Diane's car was there, Tyler's too, but the house was quiet. Too quiet. No TV, no music, not even the usual clatter from the kitchen. I remember walking in and calling her name. No answer. I called again, louder. Still nothing. The bathroom door down the hall was shut. The bedroom door, closed. Light leaking underneath. I stopped, hand on the doorknob. I don't know why I didn't open it. I really don't. Maybe deep down I already knew. And knowing was easier than seeing. Instead, I went downstairs. Sat in my garage, drank a beer in the dark. And I waited. Diane came down an hour later, wrapped in her robe, hair damp like she'd showered. Tyler followed 10 minutes after her, heading out the front door without saying a word to me. That's when it hit me, like cold water to the chest. I wasn't just being paranoid. Something was happening, and I wasn't about to sit on my hands and hope it would stop. That night, I installed a keylogger on the home computer. She used it for work sometimes. I also set up a motion-triggered audio recorder in our bedroom, hidden inside the base of the lamp on the dresser. I hated myself for doing it, but not knowing was worse. I didn't sleep that night, and what I found the next morning changed everything. The next morning, I waited until Diane left for work. She gave me a peck on the cheek before she walked out the door, like she always used to. Like nothing was wrong, like everything wasn't coming apart. As soon as her car pulled out of the driveway, I grabbed the recorder from the bedroom. It was a cheap little thing, just motion-activated audio, nothing fancy. I sat in the garage, in my old camping chair, and listened. At first, it was just silence. Then some movement, a door creaking. Then her voice. She was laughing. And then, Tyler, clear as day, his voice, right there in my bedroom. He made some joke I couldn't quite hear, but her laugh in response, it wasn't the laugh she gave me. It was softer, closer, intimate in a way I hadn't heard from her in months. Then came the moment I couldn't unhear if I tried. A bed creaked. Her voice again. We can't keep doing this, not with him downstairs. And Tyler said, you love it. Then silence, except for what sounded like kissing. Then the mattress. God help me, I had to stop the recording. I just sat there, elbows on my knees, face in my hands. It felt like I'd been gut punched by someone I trusted with my life. And it wasn't just her. It was him, the kid I helped raise. The boy I let into my home. Gave food, paid bills for, taught how to drive. The one I tried to get a job for last year when he couldn't hold one down. And now, he was sleeping with my wife under my roof. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I just sat there and let the realization settle in like concrete in my chest. I had my proof now. But I wasn't going to confront them. Not yet. That was too easy. They'd deny it, twist it, maybe even turn it on me, make me seem controlling or paranoid. No, I needed more. I needed to know how deep this went, how long it had been happening, if this was just a one-time thing, or something that had been festering behind my back for months, years, even. So I played it smart. I bought 2 more recorders. Planted one in the living room near the couch they always seemed to hang around when I wasn't home. The second, I hid it in Tyler's room, behind a fake vent cover I picked up at the hardware store. That one made me feel sick. I never imagined I'd be the kind of guy spying on his stepson, but here I was, trying to catch him and my wife plotting behind my back. A few days passed. I pretended nothing was wrong. Kissed Diane goodnight, made coffee in the mornings. Asked Tyler if he needed anything. He never looked me in the eye. Then one evening, I got home early. Diane was in the kitchen. Tyler was in the shower. I glanced at her phone sitting on the counter while she was distracted. And there it was, a notification from T on her lock screen. The preview read, "Can't stop thinking about last night. Can't wait till he's gone again." I took a picture of the screen with my own phone. Later that night, I checked the new recordings. The one from Tyler's room picked up everything. Her whispering, telling him to keep quiet. Him telling her she was the only one who got him. Her telling him that Alan just doesn't see me anymore. It made me want to puke. But it also made me furious. Furious that I had given these 2 everything, and they gave me nothing but lies. I didn't want revenge yet. I wanted understanding, so I made a decision. The next weekend, I told Diane I had to head out of town for work. A property emergency 3 hours away. She barely blinked, said, "Be safe." No follow-up questions. I drove 15 minutes to a cheap motel and set up my laptop to remotely access the cameras I'd installed earlier that week. Yeah, cameras. I put 2 in the house. One in the hallway outside our bedroom. And one hidden in a decorative vent inside our bedroom ceiling corner. And what I saw that night confirmed every nightmare I had. They weren't just having sex. They were comfortable, familiar, joking, whispering, like this wasn't something new or secret. This had been going on a long time. I watched until I couldn't take it anymore. Then I closed the laptop. That was the night I stopped being sad and started thinking about payback. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. That weekend, as I sat alone in that dingy motel, I realized I had 2 choices: fall apart or play the long game. And I don't fall apart. Not anymore. I wasn't just going to confront them and scream. That's what they'd expect, some emotional outburst. A blow up, maybe even a shove. That would make me the problem. No, I was going to take everything from them, quietly, carefully, and in a way they wouldn't see coming until it was already too late. The first thing I did was make backups. The audio recordings, the camera footage, the texts. I copied everything to a hidden hard drive and backed it up to an encrypted cloud server under a fake name. That part wasn't just for me. It was insurance. Because what I was about to do next could get messy if I wasn't careful. I started with Diane's phone. I already had access to it once, and with a few late nights and the right apps, I got into her cloud account. There, I found even more screenshots, messages, private photos between her and Tyler that made my stomach turn. But more importantly, I found something I wasn't expecting. Bank transfers. $400 here, $250 there. All sent from her personal account to his, with vague memos like groceries or car trouble. Except Tyler doesn't have a car. Never did. That's when I realized this wasn't just an affair. She was supporting him, paying him, funding this little betrayal out of the same joint account we used to pay our mortgage. So I started collecting financial records. Quietly, over the next 2 weeks, I called up my buddy Rob, an accountant I trusted, and told him I needed help getting ready for a divorce. He didn't ask too many questions. Rob's the kind of guy who's seen some stuff. He just said, "Get me the bank statements and a burner phone. I'll keep it separate from your name." While that was going on, I changed all my passwords. Removed Diane's access to my private savings. Took out $10,000 in cash and stashed it at a friend's place. Just in case. I wasn't just planning a revenge move. I was planning an exit. But I wasn't going to leave first. I wanted them to walk into the trap. So I got friendly. Really friendly. I started being more attentive at home. Cooking dinner, asking Diane how her day was. Watching movies with her on the couch like nothing was wrong. And man, the guilt on her face? It was almost satisfying. Almost. Tyler kept his distance, which was smart. But one night, about a week later, I caught him watching me through the hallway, just staring as I handed Diane a glass of wine and kissed her cheek. It was like he was trying to figure me out. I looked him straight in the eye and smiled. He looked away. That's when I knew. He didn't feel in control anymore. Good. A few nights later, I asked Diane something casual over dinner. Hey, I was thinking of taking a trip in a few weeks. That cabin upstate, the one near the lake, might be nice to clear my head. Want to come? She blinked, caught off guard. When? Middle of next month. You just have to take 2 days off work. She hesitated. I don't know. I might have to stay. End of quarter stuff. That's fine, I said. Just thought I'd ask. I already knew she wasn't coming. That was the point. You see, I was setting the trap. I wanted to give her space, to think she had an opportunity. A chance to play house with Tyler again while I was gone. But I wouldn't be gone. That weekend was when I'd bring everything I had to my lawyer: audio, video, texts, financial proof. Rob said if I could show dissipation of marital assets, I might even get the house outright. But the real prize? That wasn't property or money. It was respect. I wanted to walk into that courtroom with so much evidence that Diane wouldn't be able to look me in the eyes. And I wanted Tyler to know that from the moment they crossed the line, they'd both been living in a house they thought they owned, but it was already slipping through their fingers. Every laugh, every touch, every stolen moment, I had all of it. But I wasn't done yet. Because part of me still wanted more than justice. I wanted them to feel what I felt. And the perfect opportunity for that was coming sooner than they realized. The day I left for the cabin, I didn't even pack a bag. I drove 10 minutes out of town, parked behind an old warehouse near an industrial lot, and stayed with my buddy Tom in his upstairs rental above his garage. No one knew I was there. That was the point. Diane thought I'd be 3 hours upstate, fishing alone with no signal. Perfect cover. Tom owed me a favor, and he didn't ask questions when I said, I need 3 days off the grid, and I need to keep eyes on my house while I'm gone. He handed me a cold beer, pointed at the laptop I'd set up with the camera feeds, and said, make yourself comfortable. I didn't have to wait long. Less than 2 hours after I left, Tyler came home. That part was normal. He'd been living with us off and on. But what wasn't normal? Diane was already dressed for him. I watched from the screen, no sound, just video, as she let him in wearing that short black robe. The same robe she used to wear for me back when things were good. They kissed in the hallway like teenagers sneaking around after curfew. And that's when I realized, they weren't even trying to hide anymore. They were emboldened, confident. They thought I was out of the picture. They laughed in my kitchen, ate my food, sat on my couch, and watched movies together like some twisted couple playing house. Then they went upstairs. I didn't need to watch that part again. I already had hours of it. I closed the laptop. My hand was clenched so hard around the beer bottle I thought it might snap. But I didn't lose it. I couldn't. I was almost there. The next day, I sent the first email. Anonymous. No name. No trace. I used an old account Diane hadn't touched in years, one I had the login for. I sent it to her work email. Subject line: do you know where your husband really was last night? Inside? Just one link. To a private folder. The folder had screenshots, time-stamped clips, footage of her and Tyler from the previous night, cut together like a highlight reel of betrayal. Nothing explicit, just enough to confirm everything. She opened it about an hour later. I could tell because the IP tracker pinged. 2 minutes after that, I saw the text come through to my real phone. Alan, call me, please. I need to explain. I didn't mean, just call me. I didn't reply. Then another, please, I need to talk to you. It's not what you think. It was a mistake. It just happened. Right, it just happened. Over and over again. With my stepson, in my home, while I paid the bills. I turned off the phone. She needed to stew in that. A few hours later, Tyler called me. The balls on that kid. His voicemail was short. Hey man, I think we need to talk. Don't do anything stupid, alright? You're not thinking straight. I'm not thinking straight? I nearly laughed out loud. That night, Diane showed up at the motel. I had told no one where I was staying, which meant someone cracked. My guess? Tyler. He always folded under pressure. Tom answered the door, told her I wasn't there. She screamed. She cried. Said she just wanted to talk. That I didn't understand the full story. She said she was scared for her marriage. Scared now, huh? Tom shut the door on her mid-sentence. I didn't go home that night. Or the next. I sent one text, just one. I know everything. I've seen everything. You don't need to explain. You need to leave. She didn't reply. Not right away. But the cameras told me everything. Tyler was gone by morning. Packed up and left like a ghost. I found out later he went back to his mom's sister's place out of town. Couldn't handle the fallout. Diane stayed behind. Alone. She walked through the house like a stranger in a museum. Didn't touch the bed. Slept on the couch for 2 nights straight. On the 3rd day, she finally left. Took her suitcase, her laptop, and a few framed photos off the dresser. Ones of her and Tyler, not us. She didn't know it, but I was parked 3 houses down when she drove away. She didn't cry. Didn't even look back. Just drove off. I waited an hour. Then I went home. To my house. To my silence. And finally, I allowed myself to feel it. Not rage. Not even sadness. Just the steady, grounding weight of clarity. They were gone. Now the real part could begin. The first few days after Diane left were quiet. Not peaceful. Not yet. Just still. I slept in the guest room. Not because I missed her, but because I couldn't stand the thought of lying in that bed again. The air in the master bedroom still smelled faintly like her perfume. Or maybe that was just in my head. Either way, I couldn't do it. But what I could do was finish what I started. I had all the evidence. The recordings, the footage, the text messages, the bank transfers, everything carefully labeled and organized. So when I sat down with my divorce attorney, a woman named Margot who had the patience of a saint and the instincts of a bloodhound, she looked at me after reviewing the file and just said, This is going to bury her. I didn't say a word. She kept flipping through it all and nodded to herself. You've got proof of infidelity, dissipation of marital assets, and she tapped a photo of Diane handing cash to Tyler, possibly even financial grooming. Not illegal, I said. No, she replied, but in court? It's enough to shift sympathy. And that matters more than most people realize. I gave her the green light. She filed everything that week. But court wasn't the endgame for me. See, revenge isn't always about explosions and drama. Sometimes, it's just about pulling the right thread and letting everything unravel while you sit back and watch it happen. I started small. I contacted Diane's HR department, anonymously, of course, and shared some concerns about workplace conduct. I didn't lie. I simply provided screenshots from her cloud account showing that she'd been using company time and resources to coordinate her little affair, including work trips where she claimed per diem expenses while meeting up with Tyler. Corporate didn't like that, not one bit. A week later, she was placed on leave, pending investigation. Then came Tyler. This was personal. He always dreamed of joining the fire academy. Wanted to be a paramedic, too. Said he wanted to do something that mattered. Well, I knew someone who worked in the admissions office. Small world. I sent them a very calm, very formal letter with attachments. Not to destroy him, just to express concern about character in someone applying for a public safety role. The video clip spoke louder than I ever could. He didn't get in. When Diane tried to call me, this time from a different number, I let it go to voicemail. She was crying, said she lost her job, said she didn't know what to do, said she'd made a huge mistake. She kept saying it wasn't just about sex. It was emotional, Alan. It felt like I mattered again. Like someone saw me. That part hit me, not because I felt sympathy, but because I finally understood something. This wasn't about love, not really. It was about validation, about weakness, about the kind of hole in a person that no amount of affection or commitment can fill. I'd spent years trying to make her feel loved. Turns out, she didn't want love, she wanted attention. And the moment someone shinier or younger gave it to her, she threw it all away. My house, my trust, my family, She burned it to the ground for a few stolen nights with my stepson. And now, the ashes were hers to carry. By the time our preliminary hearing came up, Diane had a public defender. She looked smaller in that courtroom. Quieter. Worn out. I didn't smile. Didn't gloat. I let my lawyer handle everything while I just sat there and watched the same woman who once tore me apart from the inside out now try to explain herself to a judge who didn't even bother to look impressed. When court adjourned, she tried to approach me in the hallway. I didn't stop walking. Not once. But I heard her. She said, "You didn't have to destroy me." And I stopped, just long enough to say, "I didn't destroy you. You did that. I just made sure you didn't walk away without consequences." Then I walked out. And this time, I didn't look back either. It's strange, what lingers. After all the shouting, the secrets, the damage, what sticks with you the most is the quiet. The emptiness, even after Diane was gone. After Tyler disappeared from our lives. After the paperwork was signed and the house was legally mine. Even after all the wins. That silence? It was deafening. I started sleeping in the master bedroom again, but it felt like sleeping in someone else's house. Everything in it. Our furniture, the curtains she picked out, the wedding photo on the dresser I hadn't yet thrown away. It all felt like a stage set left behind after the actors skipped town. One night I came home late from work, sat on the edge of the bed, and stared at the wedding photo. I wasn't angry, just tired. Tired of remembering. Tired of rewinding every moment and wondering what I missed. Tired of asking myself if I was ever enough, or if I just got played from day one. Then, one night, I got a knock at the door. I figured it was a neighbor or a delivery mix-up. It was Tyler. I didn't say anything, just stood there in the doorway, arms crossed, staring at the kid who tore through my life like a tornado and left nothing standing. He looked different, hollowed out, beard scruff, cheap backpack slung over one shoulder. "Hey," he said, barely audible. I didn't answer. "Can I talk to you? Please?" I stepped aside. Not because he deserved it, but because I needed to look him in the face and hear whatever excuse he thought would make any of this okay. He sat on the couch like a stranger, hands clasped, avoiding my eyes. "I'm not here to ask for anything. I just wanted to say sorry. I know that doesn't fix it. I know it's not even close. But I stopped him there. You knew, and you did it anyway." He nodded, took the hit. I did know, and I still did it. And I've spent every day since trying to figure out what the hell is wrong with me. I let him talk. That's all I did. I didn't offer sympathy. I didn't raise my voice. I just listened. He told me about the guilt, the disgust, the fights with Diane after everything blew up, how he'd thought she loved him, and then, the second things got real, she turned cold. She said she didn't choose me. She just wanted to feel young again. He laughed when he said it. Not because it was funny. Just because it was absurd. Then he looked up at me and said something I wasn't ready for. "I was jealous of you. You had everything. A home, a career, her attention. Even when she was mad at you, you were solid. I've never been solid. I don't even know what that feels like." That hit harder than I expected. Because I remembered being his age, adrift, broken, desperate for something that felt like stability. But here's the thing. We all get tested. And he failed. Miserably. So when he asked if there was any chance at all, that I could forgive him one day, I didn't hesitate. "No," I said, and I meant it, because forgiveness is earned, and there are some lines you don't get to cross and come back from. I walked him to the door. He didn't argue, just nodded like he knew that was the only ending he was ever going to get from me. As I shut the door behind him, I felt something I hadn't felt in a while. Closure. Not the movie ending kind. Just a quiet understanding that I didn't owe anyone anything anymore. Diane was gone. Tyler was gone. But I was still standing. And for the first time in a long time, that felt like enough. It's been 5 months since I closed the door on Tyler. 5 months since Diane's voice faded into nothing but static in the back of my head. 5 months since I stopped checking the cameras, stopped replaying the footage, stopped asking myself how I didn't see it sooner. You know what surprises you most after betrayal? How normal life eventually feels again. I wake up, I make coffee, I go to work, I come home. The house is quiet, but it's mine. And that silence that once felt so heavy? It started sounding like peace. Some people think revenge is slashing tires or public shame or burning everything down. But for me, revenge was surviving without bitterness. It was moving on while they scrambled to rebuild their lives. I never heard from Diane again, not directly. But a few weeks ago, I got a letter. Not from her sister. It was short. Just said Diane was going through a hard time, staying in a small apartment outside of town. Couldn't hold a job, was seeing a therapist. She wanted to pass along that Diane still hopes one day you can understand. Understand? I laughed, not out of cruelty, just disbelief. She spent years building a marriage with me, and destroyed it for what? Some fleeting validation from a kid barely old enough to know who he is. She thought I'd understand? No. What I understood was this. Some people would rather set fire to their own house than admit they're unhappy. Some people want to be rescued from the emptiness they carry inside, even if it means dragging down everyone around them. But I'm not one of those people. I rebuilt, slowly, quietly, honestly. I renovated the bedroom, got rid of the furniture, painted the walls, donated the couch. I even picked up a dog from the shelter. Big, lazy mutt named Cooper who snores louder than I do and drools on everything. But he's loyal. He watches me like I'm the only thing that makes sense in his world. And that's all I ever wanted. A little loyalty, a little peace, a little truth. Sometimes I wonder if Diane ever sits alone at night and thinks about what she lost, not just the marriage, but the version of me that trusted her without question. That man doesn't exist anymore. And maybe that's the real revenge. Because the final move I made wasn't in court. It wasn't financial. It wasn't even personal. It was letting go, completely. No phone calls, no letters, no retaliation, no more space in my head or my heart. Diane and Tyler will live with what they did. And I will live with what I survived. And one day, if they ever try to explain it away again, to someone new, someone who doesn't know what they're capable of, maybe they'll forget one detail. There's a man out there who knows exactly who they are. And he's doing just fine. Without them.